Hello, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Spiritual Growth Journeys. Today, I have with me the wonderful, amazing, divine masculine, Jesse Hull. And Jesse is the host of the Missing Link show. And he actually had me on his show as a guest not too long ago. His show is amazing. And he's even interviewed some really famous people, which I'll let him talk to you about, people who I would love to meet in person and give them a big hug because they're kind of heroes or champions for the truth. But he's had the honor of interviewing a lot of amazing light warriors. And so today what we're going to be talking about is kind of his work that he's doing on this earth to serve humanity and his near-death experience. And I also want to share my near-death experiences and the information I know about near-death experiences. So we're going to really get into the juiciness of near-death experience topic today on this show. And thank you, Jesse, for joining me. How are you doing today?
I'm okay. Thanks for inviting me here,
Yeah.
Kimberly. It's definitely an honor to be here. I'm doing okay. I'm just ready to go on a road trip up to my girlfriend's city. She lives 3 hours away,
Oh,
so I was just
whoa.
packing the car before before you called. I
Yeah.
just had double hip replacement surgery like two and a half
Ouch.
months ago. So they chopped off
Ouch.
both of my legs, installed new hip joints and reattached the legs onto the pelvis, and
Wow.
just been healing, starting to walk a little bit without any aids, and stopped the painkillers about 3 weeks ago, month ago. So that's good. Just take cannabis for pain now, but I've been using cannabis for 20 plus years, maybe almost 30 years, I guess now. But I'm doing okay. So thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So, Jesse, do you want to share with everybody? So, you have this wonderful show, The Missing Link. First of all, I want you to tell everybody kind of who you are, what your story, like your awakening story, like how did you get to where you are today? What process did you go through, and how did you start the show? What got you into starting it, other than the fact that you know your mission? You obviously know your mission, which you shared with me before we started recording this show. Do you want to share with everybody just a little bit about you, like kind of your journey of how you kind of woke up and got to this point where it's like, oh, I think I'm going to have a show, and like what made you, do all that?
So I think I started as a sperm and an egg, and then came out. My parents were from Czechoslovakia. The Russians invaded in 1968. While they were in Vienna to go get married, they had a choice to go back to a country that just got invaded, or they got granted amnesty in either Canada or Australia. They chose Canada. I'm such a warm weather guy, not the best snow guy. I wish they would have chose Australia, but it is what it is. I wouldn't have gone through what I did and met the people that I did and wouldn't be here today, I guess, if they, would have chose Australia opposed to, Canada. So I didn't know any English. My parents didn't know English when they came. So when I started talking, it was just Czechoslovakian at home until I was about 5, when I started hanging out with the local people, going to kindergarten, started learning English. I was always felt different. I thought maybe because I was not speaking the same, and I kind of got bullied as a kid. You either liked me or didn't like me, got bullied throughout school until I learned my true power. During that time, maybe I was 8 or 9 years old, and I just remember seeing the kids in Ethiopia with their ribs hanging out and people starving, and we were throwing away our excess food, and I didn't kind of comprehend how we could live in a world where we have so much and other people have so little. So that was kind of like the beginning of me kind of trying to comprehend what the heck this place is and why is it
Hmm.
so unbalanced. And going through school in high school, so I was born a Catholic, got baptized, never went to Holy Communion, never went to
Hmm.
church, never went to Sunday school, Bible studies, never did any of that. So I didn't really get the religious indoctrination in school because, my English was, not on par with everybody. Plus, I was trying to be class clown, make friends with people. I liked the people more than I did the school. So I didn't get a lot of the school indoctrination, but I really had a passion for politics. I wanted to change the world. I wanted to become prime minister. By the time I was in high school, by the time
That's
I was in high
awesome.
school, I did a work experience with an alderman. But that at that time, that's when things were kind of chaotic in my life, and I, got kicked out of my house, when I was 15, just before I turned
Oh
16.
no.
And then, the streets kind of adopted me, took
Oh
care of
no.
me, protected me, taught me. And so I learned that side as well. And
Wow.
so but I was still going through some government school programs to try to get school and go to school and try to get my credits. So by the time I ended high school, I had 80 credits, but you need 100 to graduate. So I didn't quite graduate. And then I went into kind of like the street life, hanging out with lots of rough and tough people, taught me my power, how to fight, how to protect people. At that time, I would look around for people that were bullying others so I could go stop the bullies. And because I had gotten bullied, so once I realized how strong I was and had an army behind me, I just looked around for people to, put in their place.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did that for a while. And then, kind of got into the drugs and the alcohol, which kind of took me off of my mission for quite a few years. I always still had a pure heart. I always still try to help people, stop bullies, do what I can to, just assist, took people to Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, done all kinds of work throughout the time that I was still in, kind of in this, for 10 years, I got paid to party. I did
Oh,
bar promotions. Yeah, paid to
wow.
get drunk. I lived in Cancun where I took people VIP to the nightclub where they paid me to get hammered. So I was in kind of a wild
Wow.
kind of ride, but still learning about the world, teaching people things aren't the way they were. So I've been doing this for 30 plus years where I've
Wow.
been a kind of awake and aware to what's going on and just learning and teaching
Mm-hmm.
people about I wasn't so aware so much of the pharmaceutical nightmare that we
Mm-hmm.
are in. About 13 years ago, I took a trip to Asia for 45 days, where we went to 8 different countries in Asia that kind of got pressured into getting the travel vaccines, which ended up causing problems. 4 days later, my legs swole up.
Oh
I
no.
had Achilles tendonitis. I was seeing Chinese doctors. They're putting herbs all over my legs and me limping around. And so kind
Mm-hmm.
of put a little bit of a downer on the trip. But that was the first time I ever got any injections since I was a kid. And so I, uh, that I just learned about how that whole deal was. So then started making people aware of that aspect of
Right.
life, and
Wow.
just kept on going and really delving deep. And then 9 years ago, I stopped drinking alcohol. I did that in order to quit smoking cigarettes. I tried quitting cigarettes 3 times, drinking and smoking at the same time. Every time I started drinking, started smoking again. Told
Mm-hmm.
myself if I ever wanted to stop smoking, I have to stop drinking. So stopped drinking. A year later, had a quit smoking ceremony with my 2 daughters. One lasted a week, one lasted a month, and then here's me 8 years later now. I haven't, smoked. During that time, I quit all synthetic drugs. And then 6 years ago, I stopped eating meat. So I've done a lot of things over the years, making
Wow.
people aware of what's going on, what happened to me with these, injections, all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Trying to just make people aware of things, and getting
Mm-hmm.
people to research and think. And so when this thing happened 3 years ago, when people were dropping in the streets, first thing I
Mm-hmm.
said was that they lit up the five Cinco,
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The
yeah,
towers. Let's
yeah,
call
the
them the
tower,
towers.
and
Yeah.
they lit that up, and that's why
Yeah.
people dropped. That was my first public thing that I said that day or the next day that it actually happened. That was because of all my research. This is what I
Yeah.
thought, and I kind of still think today that
Mm-hmm.
that was the
I do
case.
too.
And
Yeah.
so, and they had to cover it up with this thing. So at the time, I've been, especially for at the time, it was 13 straight years on Facebook. I was making people aware of the turmoil, the chaos, the really evil people that are pulling strings. 13 straight years. But how I did it was I made cute posts of cute things. I made funny posts, make people laugh. and then I would pull in some of this conspiracy stuff. Cute things, funny things, conspiracy. So that way I didn't overbear people with just
With
hammering
just
them all.
conspiracy
He's the
stuff, yeah.
conspiracy guy. This way they would want to stay because of all the cute stuff, the funny
Yeah,
stuff. But
right.
then I could put some of the stuff, slide some stuff in to make people aware. And so I
Mhm.
did that for 13 straight years. And then when the lockdowns happened, I I decided to pivot. So there was a meditate for the earth day with David Wilcock. And when I told everybody,
Mhm.
let's meditate for the earth. Come on, we need to meditate. We need to pray. The earth needs us
Yeah.
right now. So I was hammering this. And then I had done a bunch of lives before. I was guest on people's shows. A friend of mine, Melissa, she didn't go on live ever before. She saw me on a bunch of people's lives, and she said, "Can you help me out?" And so she's a healer and a coach and all this stuff. And so she had 45 topics like love and equanimity and shame and all kinds of different
Yeah.
topics. So we went 45 days straight live, and then we did the
Mhm.
whole program again. So we went 90 straight days live. So this was pre-lockdown stuff, maybe a couple years before. So
Yeah.
we got really good at doing the lives and things. And then, but I didn't do too much on my own. I would always just do for a purpose. And then when we did the Meditate for the Earth Day, I got on live. I had David Wilcock on my computer, and I'm on live on my phone, and I have it on him and on me, and I'm ringing my Tibetan singing bowl with them. And all of a sudden, 10, 15, 20, 30 people are like on my live, and they're like, "This is great. You need to do this more. You need to come back tomorrow." So then the next day I went on live, and they're, "Yeah, we love this." And so what I did was,
Wow.
instead of when everybody was in fear and they wanted people to be afraid, we
Yeah.
pivoted, and I stopped the conspiracy, stopped trying to share. I did that for 13 straight years. So if you were my friend and you didn't know by now some of the stuff that I was trying to share, me sharing a little extra stuff on what was going on ain't going to make too much of a difference.
Yeah.
So we created the High Vibe Love Tribe.
Oh.
So every single night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, would have been 6 p.m. Pacific or 9 p.m. Eastern.
Mhm.
Put on some techno music, just started to dance. At first, it was 10 minutes, then 15 minutes, then a half an hour, and it got up to an hour,
Yeah.
sometimes even an hour and 20 minutes. But I would dance, and then I'd even incorporate 10-pound weights into the dancing. And so for the first hour, we'd just dance all day, all for the hour. And then after that, we'd slow it down, put on a
Yeah.
guided meditation, put on some healing
Oh.
frequencies. I was playing
Uh-huh.
my bongo drum. I was
Oh,
just entertaining people for
awesome.
like 2 hours every single night for
Wow.
11 straight months, 7 days a week.
Wow. That's
People would
awesome.
always have a safe space and place to go to. So all the research would be like, "Yeah, we're researching this stuff all day long, and it's just nice to come hang out in a place." We couldn't talk politics. We
No
couldn't talk
stress.
about we couldn't talk about any of the sea or any of the stuff that was going on. Couldn't talk about
Uh,
anything. It was just about love and communion. And one point I was getting over 3,000 live views per set. Like when I got off, my most one was 3,400 and something of one session. So it was like really rocking and booming. But at the time, because of the stuff that I got injected with, my hips have been problem. They want to do hip surgery on
Yeah.
me 8 years ago,
Mhm.
but it was hard for me. So afterwards, the session, I just danced for a
Mhm.
straight hour straight. It was hard on me. After about 11 months, I couldn't really do it much anymore, so we stopped. But during that time, because I created this crazy group of amazing souls. There were some people that were doing this truth or telethon. They wanted to do a truth or telethon where they had one truther after another, after another, after another. They asked me if I could MC it, host it, and be the MC and the host. And I said, I'm in. I'm in for anything truth, even though I'm just all the love and light guy. That's what I'm just the love. Because most
Oh.
people that just met me go, because as they were going, I didn't talk about any of the other stuff, right? I was just love and light, raising vibration, keeping people away from the fear that they wanted to be. So it was like perfect to pivot. People were saying, we've had the best sleeps because we just come here, we watch you for an hour, hour and a half, and we just can go to sleep peacefully, not afraid like they wanted people. I had people come up to me say, "You literally saved my life with what we did." And just like, yeah, that's
Oh, wow.
very,
That's
very powerful when
beautiful.
someone comes up and hugs you and
Hmm.
says, "You literally saved my life."
Yep. I've gotten
Like,
that before many times,
yeah, there's
actually.
no amount
Yeah.
of monetary,
Hmm.
a
It's
gain that you could get
priceless.
that
It's
could even
priceless.
match that. $1 billion can't match that
Mm-mm.
feeling of
Nope.
someone honestly hugging you and saying that you've like helped save them, and that's such a powerful thing. So,
Yes.
we did that. I did the truth, but I said yes, I would agree to this truth or telethon. 13 days before it was supposed to go on, the person calls me all hysterical, crying, "Oh, it's not gonna happen. They want to do this, and people left, and what are we gonna do? And we gotta have this thing," and just like total, like kind of crazy. And I was like, I like helping people and I like making things happen. And so I said, you know what? I'll put this on with you and we'll do this thing together. We'll put this thing on and make it happen. 13 days, who cares? I just, when I set my mind to something, can make it happen. So
Yep.
13 days, we pulled it off. We called it the Truth Telethon because they were the truther and we wanted to be a little
Right.
different. Called it the Truth Telethon.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
was the MC and host. I put on my nice Hugo Boss suit. And I went and I hosted this thing for like 12 straight hours where we just had one
Wow.
truther after another. Sometimes people
Wow.
didn't show up, and I'm behind the scenes booking for people that didn't show up, or another person didn't show up. We didn't have somebody, so I had to talk for the whole half an hour, and then people got to really hear my knowledge about what's going on. I didn't know
Yeah.
I was supposed to talk, I didn't prepare anything, but just because I've been so
Mhm.
into learning this stuff for so long, it was just
Yeah.
easy to talk for half an hour about some of the stuff that I feel and see that was going on. And then we had a second truth or telethon, and then that lady that I put it on with, she went all bananas and started calling us names. And then she didn't come to the third one. And then the guy that I was with was trying to sell lots of stuff in his company because he's a network marketer. So that was it. No more truth or telethons or truth telethons. And then I said to Angeline, I'm like, and during the first one, people said, "Jesse," they're like, "you are so good at this. You found your calling." They're like, because some people I had
Yeah.
to talk to, some people just did monologues, some people wanted this back and forth conversation, right? And they're like,
Mhm.
"This you." So I was like, you know what, Angeline? I'm like, I think we should do this like show where I just interview people one on one and really get the truth out there and stuff. So I'd met a whole bunch of people with the three truth telethons we were on. I knew a bunch of them, which I had brought in just from stuff that I had been doing over the years. And I wanted to do this business with somebody called the Missing Link years ago. And then I was
Mhm.
like, I just had that in my head, and I'm like, why not call this the Missing Link? Finding missing
Love that
links
name.
about the person or the world that they want to share. And
Mhm.
started the first show with Henna Maria. She's an activist out of Denmark, living in Spain right
Ooh.
now.
Oh, wow.
Used to work at the UN. I think by show 5 or 6, we had Lee Camp.
Mhm.
I've been following Lee Camp. I'm not sure if you know who that is.
No, I've never heard of that person.
He's a political
Mm-mm.
comedian that's been
Oh.
on like news TV shows, like mainstream TV, like years
Uh-huh.
ago. He used to have like his following was like sometimes 150,000 views per YouTube video. Like he
Wow.
had this huge audience, but obviously with the shadow banning, they got less and
Yep.
less. But I just reached out to him and I said, "Hey, I just started this new show and I'd like to interview you." He's like,
Mhm.
"Yeah, sure, when?" I was like, "What?" I was like, I couldn't believe that. So by show
Wow.
5, we had him, and I'd interviewed Sasha Stone before.
Uh-huh.
And I asked him, and he's like, "Yeah, sure." So he was like show 7. I knew somebody that got interviewed by David Icke's son. And he's like, "Well, just, he's like, well, why don't you reach out to his son? Maybe he'll be on your show, or maybe even ask for his dad." I didn't even know who his son was. I didn't really follow David Icke too much. I knew who he was by
Yeah.
hearing videos and clips and things, but I was
Mhm.
never like a, avid learner of David Icke stuff. But I thought, yeah, that'd be great. And so many people know him. So I went to his son. I sent him an email. I said, I have this show called The Missing Link. I'd really like to interview your dad. And they're like, yeah, okay. I was like, what? I was like, this easy to just get people on the show. And I just started
Yeah.
reaching out. And then once you have like names like Lee Camp and Sasha Stone and David Icke, and
Uh-huh.
you send an email to these people and saying you have all these people are like, wow, well, he must got something going on if he's got all these pretty famous
Mm-hmm.
people, on his show. And so I just started hammering. I was sending out, invites to everybody. I must have 1,000 invites out there. So
Wow.
we've just been interviewing anybody and everybody. We've done about almost 460 shows in 2 years,
Wow. That's so
and
many.
more than 44, 45 of them are doctors.
Oh my
So
goodness.
10% of all the people we've interviewed are actually been doctors, medical doctors that got fired
Wow.
for exposing some stuff that was going on. Like, they were just telling their real stories, and then all of a sudden I get strikes and this and that because you're not supposed to tell the truth for some
Nope.
reason, as
Nope.
crazy as that
Mm-mm.
is. So your real doctors sharing their information are not
Mm-hmm.
allowed to be heard, which I
Nope.
was like, this is crazy. And so I've got a whole Rolodex of very famous, well-known people and doctors, but we've really been just trying to interview everybody. So I'm not,
Wow.
right now we're booked for all of May. We're booked for all of
Oh,
June. We
wow.
got a few spots in June. We're doing 5 days a week now, Monday to Friday, booked like every single day, all the way. I think we got 3 spots in June. We're already
Wow.
booking into July. But most of the people aren't super, super well known. I could be filling in just to get clicks and likes and all that kind of stuff, but I'm not. I just want to this has got a life of its own. It's very organic. People are like, interview this person, interview this person. I never even heard of them, but I send them invites anyways. If someone wants me to interview somebody, they just say
Yeah.
interview them. I send them an invite. Most of the time, I don't even do research on the person. I'm seeing them for the first time when we come up on the interview, and I just let source flow through me, just let whatever questions pop up. I listen to their intro because I asked them to tell us about themselves, and then whatever questions come to mind. And it seems to really work. We include the audience
Wow.
by putting up their comments, by asking their questions, by even stopping and say, hey, Michelle said this, or Mike asked this question for you. And it makes people really feel a part of it, not just two people being interviewed and, you're just watching and then you leave. So we're usually interview for 2 hours. Sometimes it goes to, we've had just a recent one, 7 hours and 47 minutes. We've had a bunch, 5 hours, a couple 4 hour interviews. And we've got people that
Wow.
stay the whole time. And for
Wow.
like, in an age of instant gratification where it's
Mm-hmm.
just people just want to watch for 30
Mm-hmm.
seconds and they're done, or watch for 2 minutes, you can't keep their attention for long.
Mm-hmm.
We've really built a really amazing group of people that really appreciate what we're doing, and they
Yeah.
like to get the information, like as like from yourself. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
were on, you had a little bit of heart issues when you were going on. So that was
Yeah.
it. But otherwise, it was a great interview with you, and we're
Yeah.
just trying to find any missing links about the world or the person we're interviewing that we can get. And it's been going great. Don't know what we're doing, don't know how we're doing this. It's just got a life of its own. I don't know how long we're going to do it, don't know what it's going to pivot to. We don't ask people for money. We don't, advertise products. We got a couple things that people can buy, but I never talk about them because it's all about the information and teaching people. And if one day we can somehow make it where we can actually, make a living, I guess, from it, maybe that'll pivot to that one day. But for right now, it's just trying to bring as much information to as many people as possible for anybody that's willing to listen.
Wow, that is so awesome. And, thank you for having me on your show. I had like almost heart attack like symptoms in the middle of the show. And I found out later that I was being attacked. I was being psychic. I was being attacked by some dark magicians or something. They were attacking me. And at the same time, I was going through an upgrade. So I was being upgraded and then they were trying to stop it and they were attacking me at the same time. So I had two things going on. And that's what I found out after the fact. And this kind of stuff is just going to keep going until we ascend, until we get to the 5D. We're going to have 81 million, or I'm sorry, 81 billion, and I'm not making this up, demons on planet Earth. We've got archons, we've got parasites, we've got AI, we've got negative ET groups like the Draco and the Greys, on this planet. And then we have all of our filthy, dirty, disgusting government politicians who are all evil. Yeshua told me back 3 years ago that 98% of all politicians on earth have signed Luciferian contracts. 98% of
Wow.
them. have signed Luciferian contracts.
It's not
Um,
surprising with the way they tell you things and never go on what they say. They're very two-faced and you can't believe what they say.
yeah.
And honorable, honest people that are on in the light wouldn't
Hmm.
behave like that. If they tried to stop you from sharing that, you'd tell them to go pound salt and make me a martyr then, because most people
Right.
wouldn't, that are good, honest people, wouldn't do that.
Yeah. And so this whole we live in basically hell. Okay. Earth has become, I mean, the earth herself is a beautiful being. She's conscious. She's gorgeous. She's beautiful. She's got beautiful, amazing creatures, animals that are just made out of unconditional love all over her, covered with these beautiful animals. But the humans on this planet, 15% of them are non-player characters. I was at a concert last night for the group Shinedown, went to the rock group Shinedown concert last night. 20% of the people in that arena were NPCs, non-player characters. 15% of the humans on Earth right now are non-player characters. Then we've got another 200 million people who are what we call minions of the cabal. That's what Yeshua, and all this information has come to me from really high up sources. So 200 million people on this earth right now are working for the cabal, working for the bad guys. They're either signed Luciferian contracts or whatever. 200 million, that's a lot of them. And what I was told is one small group of so-called white hats cannot take down 200 million people. So we're going to need a divine intervention. And that's why Yeshua keeps saying he's coming back with the angel armies and the heavenly host to do something. The problem is his timing and our timing is different. And so when he says I'm coming back, it could be 100 years from now. I don't know. I mean, he says I'm coming back soon. What does soon mean? I don't know. They won't give me times. They won't give me dates. They won't give me times. They keep reminding me of that phrase in the Bible. He comes like a thief in the night. They keep reminding me of that I'm not supposed to know. They keep telling me you're not supposed to know the exact date. And all these people who keep putting dates online are pulling the rug out of it. People have been talking about Jasara for 8 years that I've been reading about it. 8 years I've been reading about this stuff. And 8 years later, it still hasn't happened. And I get emails from people every day. It's happening this week. It's happening. And week after week goes by and they keep saying it's happening this week. And they say it for 8 years straight. At what point do you say this is insanity? It's total insanity. So we live on this total prison hell planet. And the only thing that's keeping people from all suiciding themselves, honestly, are people like you, people like me, people like all of my starseed, light worker friends like Salini and Eddie Ben Abraham and Victoria Reynolds and Jenny Lee, and all my friends who are doing this work right now. I'm tossing around. I'm holding these protection devices because I don't like to be attacked when I'm on video, so I'm holding protection devices. All of these people, we are here together, what I call the light warriors or light workers. We came here to hold the light. Oh, there we go. Yep, you got your stuff. Oh, those are beautiful. Those are
So
absolutely beautiful.
yeah, I got a whole bunch that I keep on my computer here.
Wow.
I don't personally get attacked, but like
Yeah.
stuff will happen where my computer, just before an interview, my computer will just all
Just
shut down
glitch
and
and shut
I'd
down.
have to do an automatic restart. I was just talking to a
Those are
guy on,
attacks.
yeah, I was talking to a guy on the bank the other day, and he's
Yeah.
like, "It's very strange. My whole computer just shut down." I'm like, "Yeah, that's not very strange to me because for some reason, technology, the energy going through it, I don't know what exactly is going on, but I do have a impact on technology. It's either me or something's trying to get to me through it, but I
Yeah.
just stay strong, keep my head up, keep positive, and we're gonna flow through this as long as
Yeah.
you keep believing that we will.
Yeah. And so the important thing that you and I are doing as a team, as part of the Lightworker team, all of us, is we're here lifting people up so they don't become totally hopeless and all kill themselves. Because day after day, I get messages from people who are just like, when is this going to be done? I just can't take it anymore. And even myself, I woke up with horrible health problems this morning again. And it's been going on and on and on with the health issues. And I was crying. And my husband came home. He had gone out to play he plays pickleball every Sunday with a friend. And he came home from pickleball And he saw me crying and he's like, why are you crying? And I'm like, because I woke up again with, I can't even use my left hand. It hurts so bad. And, my neck is hurting so bad and my heart's going crazy again. And, just all this stuff. And it's really, and it's just, it's exhausting. We're exhausted. All the light workers are fully exhausted right now. And the only thing that's keeping us together is putting these shows out and these messages of hope and encouragement out and upliftment out to the public, sharing positive information and camaraderie, like getting together and supporting each other and backing each other up and cheering each other on, being cheerleaders for each other. This is the only thing that's keeping us all going, because we are exhausted. All of us, we are exhausted. And then I have hundreds of messages coming to me every day of the week from people who are, their lives are just total disasters. And they're just hopeless and they're downtrodden and they just can't take it anymore. And and I can't fix them. I can't do anything. I don't have a magic wand I can wave and make all their problems go away. If I could, I would totally do it in a heartbeat, because I love people so much. I love animals. I love people. I want to help everybody. I want to help all these people so bad. That the best way we can help them is by teaching them how to stay in the moment. I'm wearing this necklace today. It's called Butterfly in the Moment, I believe, by energy artist Julia. I collect a lot of her art and her jewelry. And I had a spiritual experience where I had all these butterflies. I was going through a lot of stuff and I needed some signs from God. And then I was out on a walk with my friend Heather, and all these butterflies just kept following me everywhere. They were following me everywhere I went. And then I had this voice kind of speaking in my head saying, that necklace, Butterfly in the Moment. And Heather's like, you need to look up butterfly magic or butterfly energy or butterfly spirit animal. And it has to do with staying present right now, not worrying about what's coming in the future. When's it going to happen? When's Nasara going to happen? When's this going to happen? Because I used to be caught up in that, Jesse. I used to be fully caught up in this whole thing of when is this going to happen? When's that going to happen? And now I'm just surrendering. And I also had another message recently, and then it got confirmed two more times by the universe. So 3 confirmations of this: surrender your will to God's will, to the Creator's will, because we don't know what hour or what time things are going to happen. He knows, she knows, it knows, what the Creator knows. We don't know, but you need to surrender, because the longer that you keep trying to control things, or you keep trying to manipulate, or you keep expecting, you have what we call a constant expectation, you're actually blocking the flow coming in. You're blocking yourself. You're blocking the flow of positive energy. You're blocking luck. You're blocking magic. You're blocking all the positive things coming into your existence when you're having expectations, when you're being pushy about it, when you're being controlling, whatever. And it's like, come on. And you're getting all like anxious about it. When you start to get anxious, the anxiety of the energy of anxiety creates a big giant wall, like a big wall, and it blocks you from joy. It blocks you from health. It blocks you from happiness. It blocks you from transcending. It blocks you from ascending. It blocks you from everything. And so we need to drop all of these expectations, all these control, your need to control. Oh, it needs to happen now. Well, I'm not in charge. God is in charge. I'm not in charge of the earth. I mean, if I was in charge, chemtrails would have ended years ago. I would have blown those fuckers, excuse my language, out of the sky. They spray them over my house every single day. Okay. I would have ended those guys a long time ago. I would have ended all these governments all over the world. If I had the magic wand, everything would be so different, but I don't. So I have to step inside this butterfly in the moment, being in the moment. And all of these people out there who are going through horrible things in your lives, because I am too, we all are. I might be here as a teacher, but I'm still human and I'm still going through shit, man. Nasty shit on a daily basis. You have no idea, you guys out there. I don't talk about myself a lot on these videos or in posts. I don't go into my personal stuff. People out in the audience who watch me, I have 9,700 or more people on YouTube who follow me. And then I have like 5,000 followers on LinkedIn and then 5,000 or more on Facebook and, all over the place. They have no idea what I go through day to day. My life is just as horrific as everybody else's, but I pick my ass up by the bootstraps and I keep moving forward, and I'm trying to do this moment by moment thing right now in the moment. I'm just breathing. I'm just living, trying to create joy for myself every day. Trying to do things like go to a rock concert with my son. That was the first time in 4 years that we'd done that because of COVID. Because my son and I used to always go to rock concerts together all the time, at least once a year. And then COVID happened and we couldn't do it anymore. So, because there's no way in hell you were going to get me in there wearing one of those diapers on my face. So this was the first time I got to go into a concert diaper free without the face diaper. And that is what we're here for. We are here to hold the light. And I got to tell you all this, and I'm going to tell you this, Jesse. Last night at the concert, the 2 opening groups were extremely satanic. The pictures that they were showing up on the screen were all 100% satanic. The words in the songs, the way they were it was screamo rock, which I hate. I can't stand that. It makes me like, it actually fries my nervous system. I can't stand it. The group that we went to see was not screamo rock. The group we went to see, Shinedown, is amazing. They are champions for the spiritual realm. I mean, they're amazing. He was up there preaching about body, mind, and spirit and all kinds of good stuff because they are very spiritually grounded. I think they're checked in with the ETs too, or plugged in, because up on their screen, they had all this ET like language kind of stuff. It was really something, but he was up there because they are ambassadors for suicide prevention. So they raise money. Every ticket that you buy to their concert goes to suicide prevention. Like $1, I think they said, of every ticket goes to suicide prevention. And they had already raised $150,000 just from, I think, our concert and the tour, just their tour that they'd been on up until that point. They had raised $150,000 for the suicide prevention. It was like the American Society of Suicide Prevention or something. And they do educating, and they have hotlines, and they have counselors, and they have all this stuff that's free that they give to people. And he was up there preaching such spiritual wisdom up there. I was like, these guys are good. Okay. Just the way he was talking, you can tell he comes from the light and that he's of the light, and he's not one of those dark cult Illuminati guys. He was obvious, but the 2 groups that opened for him were not. They were bad. Okay. So guess what Kimberly was there doing? I was beaming light frequency throughout that whole, because it's a circle. It's shaped like a circle, right? I was beaming a circle of light all throughout the inside of there. I was sending love. And when they were singing their nasty lyrics, I was there humming in my head, I am love, I am love, I am love, I am love, I am love. That's what I was doing. And I was sending love to every person in the entire stadium, even the NPCs.
So that's maybe why you weren't feeling so well today, because of how much energy that took. And so you felt a little bit, run down today.
This
And you
morning.
felt this morning, you felt these symptoms
Felt like I was
because
hit by a truck this morning.
Yeah, so that's probably a good correlation maybe to why that you were feeling like that.
Yeah, exactly. So, but we are here to do this work. This is what we're here to do. You and I and all of our team, we came here to hold this shit show down. And are we ascending? Absolutely. It's a process. It takes years. It's already started. It started back in, well, a lot of people say it started with the harmonic convergence in the 80s. Okay. That's what a lot of people say, but realistically, it got kickstarted in December 2011. That's when it really, really got kickstarted. And that's when we started going through what they call the Great Solar Flash, which is actually a series of lots of solar stuff, started in December of 2011. That's when that all started, when your DNA started shifting. Your DNA started shifting in December of 2011. I felt it physically. I physically felt it. I had many experiences with that, where my whole body was vibrating and like a vibrator and just like crazy stuff like that. And it's a process, and it takes many years, and our body is going from carbon-based to crystalline. And if they were to make you do that immediately, like flip a switch, your body would disintegrate. It couldn't handle it, because they have to heat you up and cool you down and do all kinds of other stuff to you to shift you into what they call the crystalline. And so, so people out there that are watching this, you need to understand that you have to have patience. In fact, when I was a little girl, somebody gave me a plaque with little Holly Hobby. And I don't know if you all remember from the 70s and 80s, Holly Hobby. She was a cute little character cartoon with the little granny hat, and she wore like a Victorian, dress. She's sitting in a rocking chair, and it says, "All good things take time." My grandma gave that to me. And I had a psychic tell me when I was in my 20s, and she was a 100% accurate psychic, by the way, and prophet. She prophesized all kinds of future events for me, dead on 100%, all the way into this part of my life. Okay. And that was 30 years plus years ago. She told me, "Kimberly, your main lesson, your lesson in this life," she said, "yeah, you're here to teach, to be a teacher." She said, "You're here to be a teacher to people. That's your purpose." But she said, "Your lesson in life is patience, patience." We all need patience, like that song by Axel, "All we need is a little patience." I can't sing like Axl Rose, so don't even ask, with his screeching that he does. But the fact of the matter is we all need some patience. We all need patience. And it's really, really important for us to stop sitting there and going, "When is this going to happen? When is that going to happen?" Because every time you're asking that, your nervous system is getting spun up out of control. Your adrenals are getting shot to hell. Your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems are getting crashed and burned. And so you have to stop that behavior in order to come back into what's called homeostasis, or balance and peace. You need to start practicing qigong and yoga and meditation and things, and breathing every day, just sitting and breathing and just being. You're not a human doing, you are a human being. So just be, just sit and be, just sit and breathe and breathe. And that is what we need to do more of, instead of sitting, "When is this going to happen? When's that going to happen?" Because when you do that, I can check if you contact me on a message. So I'm a Heyoka empath. I'm picking up the energy of Jesse and all of you in the audience. When you're working with me on a session, when you're in one of my group sessions, when you're in a class, I'm picking up all your energy. And when you're sitting there and going, "When is this? When is that?" Guess what I'm feeling from you? I am feeling your pulse is speeding up. Your blood pressure is going through the freaking roof. And I could strap you to monitors right in this moment when you're doing that. "When is this? When is that? When is this? When is that?" When you're doing that, I can strap you to monitors and prove to you physiologically that you are fucking up your nervous system, your adrenals, you're pouring cortisol, stress hormone, into your body, your blood pressure, your heart rate, everything is going crazy. You need to sit down, shut up, and stay in the moment. That's what you need to do. And so I myself am having to follow my own directions. And so I signed up for a weekly Qigong healing session with a healer out of Spring Forest Qigong in Minnesota, because they're the best in the United States of America for Qigong healing. I'm getting a healing session that I'm receiving now once a week, and I signed up for their nightly thing. They have a nightly thing, and then I have to do a daily meditation that I signed up for, where I'm doing the small universe meditation so that I can get myself into homeostasis, because I was one of you where I was sitting there every day going, "Damn it, when's this going to happen? When's this going to happen? When's this?" And that was me. And I was getting my nervous system so bad that I went to my new naturopath, and she said, "Your nervous system and adrenals are shot, Kimberly." And I'm like, "Oh shit." This is not good. This is not good. So all of you, I share my experiences here, not because I like talking about myself, because I totally don't. One of the things I hate to do is talk about myself. I would rather talk about Jesse or you or whoever I'm talking to. I am sharing this as a learning, as a teaching tool, because I'm a teacher and I want to teach you. Here's what you don't do. Here's what you do. Here's what I did that was stupid and I fucked up really bad. Here's what I'm doing that's really amazing. Okay. Because this is how you guys are going to learn. So the next thing I want to talk about with you, Jesse, is your near-death experience. So you had a near-death experience, and there's people all over the earth who have had these near-death experiences. I've read books and stories by people like that little kid who was 9 years old, who wrote or however old he was, he died and he went to heaven, and he met his little sister that he didn't even know existed. And then there's Eben Alexander, the neurosurgeon, who didn't even believe in God, and he had a near-death experience and wrote about it. And then there's Dolores Cannon, and there's hundreds of other people who've written these amazing books about near-death experiences. So can you share with everybody today, what was your near-death experience like? What happened to you?
So I just wanted to, I know, just kind of say something from what you just said. It's really important that we enjoy the ride while we're here, enjoy
Mhm.
the process, honor yourself, do things that you like to do. Kimberly, is getting benefit from the Qigong, from the meditation. That may not be for everybody that's listening. Some people may get art therapy, fishing therapy, sports therapy, whatever it is that you need to do, do more of it. Enjoy the ride, enjoy yourself while you're here. Things may be chaotic and crazy outside. You can't control those things, but you
Mhm.
can control yourself. You can control how you respond to what's going on. And if you truly honor yourself and want to put yourself into a good place, then make sure you're doing things that you love doing, and then the world becomes a better place if everybody just focused a few things every day on honoring themselves, taking some time, whether it's meditation or fishing or basketball, whatever it is that, art, whatever it is that you need to do a little more of it. And we all benefit from that because we are all connected, energetically, and we all do respond to each other. So if people are anxious and what's happening, what's going on, we all feel that. The people that feel, we feel that energy. But if you start honoring yourself, become into full balance again, getting yourself happy, okay, it doesn't matter what's going to happen. I'm going to flow through this no matter what they bring at us. And you have that attitude, then we all start to strengthen our resolve and things become easier for us all. So I just wanted to just kind of finish off with what you were just saying there.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. And I agree. There's so many things you can do. I'm just giving Qigong as an example of what I'm doing, but I mean, there's so many other things you can do. Art is wonderful. Painting is wonderful. I know people who start doing blowing glass, ceramics. There's so many ways that you can channel your emotions because you need to process your emotions. And Jesse and I, we were talking about this before we started about Jesse really embodies the divine masculine part of himself, the part where he's able to feel his emotions and process his emotions, which majority of men on the earth have been taught to, oh, you're not allowed to cry, you're not allowed to have emotions, you have to act like a robot all the time, which is totally opposite of divine masculine, because when you're the divine masculine, you're able to embody that divine feminine part of yourself as well, which is the emotional side of yourself. And so Jesse has that ability because he totally embodies and embraces that divine the balance of the divine masculine
Divine
and divine
feminine. I
feminine.
honor the
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
totally
honor the
honors
divine
it.
feminine, and I'm
Yeah,
not afraid of it. I'm not
yeah.
scared to have a tear. I'm not, afraid to, talk about my emotions if needed. So I'm a Scorpio. I'm a little bit more private about the inside, but
Mhm.
I'm learning and I'm working on that every day to be able to be a good example because I am, online in front of lots of people. So as a divine masculine, you want to be able to be a good example so that way other people can see, hey, it's okay, and to be able to talk about certain things and to go through that. So, but to
Mhm.
your question about the
Yeah, the near death
yeah, near
experience.
death experience. So this was probably like 25 years ago. Not exactly sure. I don't really count times, and like for lots of years
Mhm.
I was into the drugs and alcohol, so things were a big blur for years and years and years. So I don't know exactly, but maybe 25, 28 years ago, I was traveling and I wasn't in a city of my own, and I was walking down the street and I saw this girl who was crying, and I asked her if she was okay. And then, like a lot of people that I talk to, they just open up to me and tell me about what's going on in their world and in their life. And apparently, she had got kicked out of her house, and her cousin was a hooker for this gang, and she was, staying with them.
Mhm.
And because she got kicked out, she was eating their food, she was drinking their alcohol, she was smoking their weed, and this was going on for a few weeks, 3 weeks or whatever. And then they had told her, okay, enough's enough, you've owe us this money now, you need to go get out and make us some money. So that's when I saw her, when she was out and she didn't know what to do, she didn't want to do this and she was crying, and I said, forget them. I go, we'll figure out a place. And I just met this girl, and next thing you know, there's Jesse rescues, a hero want to save the day. And
Mhm.
so we got this little basement suite, and things were going great. We were to about, it was maybe about a week or a week and a half, almost 2 weeks. And she had went, and this was pre cell phone days. We had pagers and things, I think, at the time. And she had went and made a phone call and called her cousin, and
Big mistake.
apparently told her, I didn't know, but she had told her where we lived.
Oh God.
And so I'm a pretty deep sleeper. And at this time, we only had a couch. We didn't even have a bed, right? So we had two couches. She was on one couch, I was on another couch. And I'm sleeping. And next thing you know, I hear like this commotion going on. And they had like kicked in the door. And there's a whole bunch of people inside of this apartment. And they were like yelling, her, "Where's our money?" and all this. And I'm like, I stood up and I said, "Don't talk to her like that." And next thing you know, it was on. I've done lots of martial arts. I know how to fight. There was lots of them with knives. One smashed a bottle over my head. I fight this way. I got stabbed over here. I started fighting this guy. Got stabbed over here. I was getting stabbed. I ended up getting stabbed 12 times, and
Oh my God.
one of the stab wounds punctured my lung.
Oh
And as
God.
this fight was going on, I just heard a loud bang. And then all of a sudden, they just all left and scattered. Still to this day, I don't know what that bang was. I don't know if it was a neighbor that came and shot a gun and scared them. I don't know what, but I heard a loud bang, or maybe it was divine. I have no idea where this bang came from, but they all scattered and they were gone. And I laid back on the couch, blood's pouring from my face, all of my stab wounds. I had a track jacket on. I slept in my track jacket and I had shorts on, blood's pouring down my legs. And I look at her and I'm like, "Kim, I'm like, I need to go to the hospital." She's like, "Yeah, just don't bring the police here, okay?" And I was like, I stood up and I was like, I couldn't believe what I just heard. Like, I just, protected her from these bad guys. And she's worried about the police or whatever, and not really concerned too much about me. So that kind of got me up. And I was like, start walking out the door. And we were in the basement suite. So I went up the stairs, got to the two glass doors where the apartment building, you have the glass doors. You have the one that's locked and then the one that's open. I went through the first one and then everything went white light. I couldn't see anything. All I saw was white. But I kept walking through the doors and I went through the other side, and obviously I couldn't see the stairs, so I fell down the stairs. I hit the ground on the other side and everything went pitch black. And I don't really get afraid. At that time I was like scared. And all of a sudden I heard this voice, and it was like the voice of God. It was a voice angel. I don't know who this voice was, but said, "Get up or you're gonna die, Jesse." And I was like, whoa, it was like such a profound thing. And I'll never forget the voice. I'll never forget that moment and how I felt. And then all of a sudden I could start seeing and I could hear her. She was at the glass sliding doors. She didn't want to be locked out, I guess. So she didn't even come to help lift me up off the ground, and I like, I get myself up and I see her and I start walking. And then in my head, I was like, well, if you're gonna pass on, you better at least tell one last girl you love them before you pass on. So I turn around and I said, "I love you, Kim." And she's still holding the doors, and I'm walking by myself. Blood's pouring out of me, like 12 different places plus my head, so 13 places. Blood's pouring from me. And she goes, "I love you too. Just don't bring the police here, okay?" She said it again. And I don't know what it was, but her saying that, I think, helped me because I was pissed off. I wasn't thinking about me bleeding. I wasn't thinking about, what had just transpired. I was like, what a stupid me. I'm talking to myself the whole, what do you mean don't bring the police here, Kay? I'm sitting here bleeding. I'm trying to get help and she's worried about it. I'm talking to myself, not thinking about, that I've got 12 puncture wounds in me, right? And my lungs are filling up with blood because
Wow.
one punctured my blood. I mean, my lung. So there's this car that drove up, and this was about 2 or 3 a.m., right? It was late night, right? And so this car rolls up the road, and I tried to flag them down to get help. So I like flagged them down and they looked at me and their faces were like, it was like time froze for a second. They just looked at me like, oh my, did he just come out of the cemetery zombie? Like blood everywhere. And I'm walking down the road. They were gone. They wanted nothing to do with me. They sped off and they were gone. So walked another block till I got to the gas station. There was somebody as I'm walking the parking lot, someone was walking into the door, and I'm like, excuse me. I'm like, can you call an ambulance for me? And he looks at me and he's like, yup. And he goes in, and I was still self-conscious at that time. I didn't want to go bleed inside the store. I stayed outside. For some reason, I still stayed, pretty calm and, considering. He comes out like 30 seconds later and he's like, they want to know what happened to you. And I'm like, I'm dying. Could you just please bring me an ambulance? And I'm like,
Mhm.
he's like, yeah. And I'm like, can you bring me some napkins? And so he like goes in there, he grabs like a big chunk of napkins. He comes out and he passes, me a bunch of them, and I start putting them on my stab wounds. And God bless this guy's soul, because he stood there and he was putting the things on my back, some stranger, and he stayed there with me. I was still standing. He was holding on some of my puncture wounds with some of these napkins, and I'm holding them and just trying to stop me from bleeding, right? And I remember a police car came. I didn't even think, or I didn't even want to talk. I had nothing to say to them, right? I needed help. Like I was dying, right? And then the ambulance came, but on the other side of the parking lot, for some strange reason, they didn't roll up to right where I was, but they pulled up. And then as soon as I heard the gurney come, and I think the police was saying something to me or something, but I didn't want to say anything. I had nothing to say to him. And as soon as I heard them pull the gurney out, I looked the guy in the eye that brought me the napkins and called me the ambulance. I looked him right in the eye and I said, thanks, man. That's all I said to him. And, and like I still send him energy and I bless his soul and thank you for helping me and helping save me that day, because who knows, maybe that little extra blood that he stopped prevented from me leaving helped me from staying here. Right. And, so I look at him and I say, thanks, man. And I like walk straight to where the ambulance is. And they're like, no, no, no. They're like, stay there, stay there. And I'm like, I have no time to stay there. I like walked right up to the ambulance, stripped off my clothes. I hopped on the stretcher and I said, let's go. And it was like time froze. They didn't know what to think. It was like these guys are just kind of like, okay. And then like it was just for like a second. I don't know, it's because the adrenaline's maybe seemed longer to me than it was, but they were like, okay, and they put me in the ambulance, and the ambulance ride there, they're trying to ask me questions. I'm not saying anything, and they're putting oxygen mask on me. And as I breathed it in, I started to feel lightheaded, like I was going to pass out. So I pulled it off. They put it on. I pulled it off. They put it on. Well, I'm fighting these guys the whole way to the whole way to the hospital with this stupid oxygen mask, because I wanted to stay awake. I wanted to be conscious. I was like nervous that I had lost a lot of blood. A lot of blood filled up my lungs. I wasn't breathing the best, and I wanted to stay conscious and aware. And I did.
Wow.
And they rolled me into the hospital. They rolled me into the operating room. And then the doctor is like, oh my. And then he starts sticking his finger into every one of my stab wounds. And because I had lost so much blood, because I was in critical condition, they didn't have a chance to x-ray me to make sure there's no metals in me before they stitched me up. So they didn't know if something broke off in me. That's what he said. And he's sticking his finger into all 12 of my stab wounds. And I'm like, that's when it hurt. For the first time, I felt pain. I didn't feel any pain. The adrenaline, the everything. It wasn't painful at all. I didn't feel no pain out of this situation. When that
Mhm.
doctor started sticking his finger into me, that didn't feel good at all. And I felt pain, and I wanted to like hit him because it was hurting me. And I said, Jesse, if you hit him, he's not going to help you. I just kept repeating that into my head silently, right? If you hit him, he's not going to help you. And then I remember they were stitching up my head, and they gave me some morphine. And then I saw myself leave my body. I saw my body lifeless on the table with about
Wow.
10 doctors and nurses around me that were in the room. And I saw myself get smaller and smaller and smaller as I floated away. And then I don't remember. I don't know if whatever it is on the other side, they had told me messages, wipe my, I don't know why I don't have that, talking and see these things. And, a lot of people have these amazing stories on what they saw on the other
Mhm.
side. I don't have that memory. I woke up the next day and I was in my hospital bed and there was a nurse in the room and she looks and oh, I'm so happy you're awake. And I'm like, yeah, me too. I'm like, and I need a smoke. And she's like, you can't have a cigarette. You got a chest tube in you. You just had this major, incident happen to you. And I said, look, lady, if you knew what just happened to me and I didn't die, I don't think a cigarette's gonna like kill me. And she's like, well, I can't help you. If you want to get that, you're gonna have to go yourself to get that. And so I really needed a smoke after all that just happened. And I was a smoker at the time. And I was like, I needed a smoke. Like that made
Mhm.
me just calm my nerves a little bit because I'm thinking about all the stuff that I had remembered and seeing me leave my body and all this kind of stuff. I was
Jeez.
like, wow, I need a cigarette. So I got myself up. I got my smokes out of I had my little bag. I had a pouch on me where I had my
Mhm.
little money bag and my smokes and all my stuff that was in there and grabbed a smoke and I went out and smoking. And there was this guy beside me. He was in a wheelchair and he was a Hell's Angels biker, one of the head guys or whatever. And he was waiting for a heart. He was waiting for somebody to die. They had a plane waiting for them to bring a heart to him to get a heart transplant. And he's like, he knew. He's like, yeah, you're that guy that fought all those guys. I guess apparently a couple of guys that I fought came to the hospital, and one guy lost the use of his arm. I kicked one guy and he stabbed his buddy or something like that with a knife that I kicked his hand or whatever. And so I like took a couple people to the hospital with me, of these guys. And he's like, yeah, he's like, come with me. I want to show you something. And so we go into the elevator and we go down into the basement. And now we're going down this long like tunnel. And I'm getting now a little bit nervous. This guy's in a wheelchair. So I'm thinking maybe he's like, he can't hurt me. But, I just went through this ordeal, but this is kind of strange. And we go through this, and it's an empty, dark hallway in the basement. And then we open up
Mhm.
this one double door, and then I could smell the weed. And then he took me to the cancer place. He's like, if you're going to recover, you need to recover here. So the whole time I just spent in this like cancer place where everybody was smoking. The nurses came down there, were smoking weed and all that kind of stuff. And on my so I was there for ended up being there for 10 days in the hospital, right, with all of the stuff that had happened to me. And on my last day, they were supposed to do a and they did an x-ray every day. They did an x-ray to see how everything was going. I had this chest tube in me. Every day that I was
Yeah.
there, they did an x-ray. So on my last day before I was leaving, or there was the night before, I was in that weed area, and I remember there's this kind of tunnel that goes up into the air where there's natural like the sky. And it
Uh-huh.
was raining. There's a little bit of rain was coming down. I'm asking all the nurses, how do they take out this chest tube out of my body? And they're like, yeah, they just pull it out and then they just, they'll just tape you up and it goes. I'm like, so that's it. And they're like, yeah. So uh, all the nurses left. I was there by myself. I'm sitting there. The rain just started. I just smoked like a big fatty. And I decided I was pulling out my own chest tube out of my body. Why I wanted to do that, I have no idea. But I took
Ah.
my chest tube and I pulled it and I like yanked it about that long and it wasn't even out. I couldn't believe that I pulled and I like gasped for air. I was like, and then I was like, what the frick am I supposed to do now? Am I supposed to put it back in? And so I just pulled it that last. It was about this long that I had to pull this thing out of
Wow.
me. So I pulled about half of it out and I wasn't even there, but I didn't want to push it back in now because who knows if I would have stabbed somewhere else or, so I decided I have to pull this thing out. So I yanked it out the rest of the way. And there was like, cause I was a smoker, there was a little big piece of like phlegm at the end that I yanked out that was on the end of it. And I cleaned it up. I taped it on. I taped it back on my body and went back to my room and then went to sleep. And then the next day they take me for an x-ray. And so I go to the x-ray and then they do the x-rays. And then I'm sitting in the chair and I'm like, what am I going to see to them? Like why this thing is out of me, right? So I just left and I went outside. I went and suntan for about 2 or 3 hours. I didn't know what to do or what to say. Apparently, they're searching the whole hospital for me. They have no idea why this thing is no longer in my body, right? They're freaking out, right? Because they're like, how is this even possible, right? Because it was taped on the outside of me. And so I somehow I got back into my room without seeing anybody. I'm in my bed, and like maybe like a few minutes later, this nurse comes in. She walks in, she sees me, she turns around and leaves. She didn't even say one word to me. As soon as she's seen me in the room, she turns around and she's gone. And like, a few minutes later, this a Chinese doctor, he comes in, Oriental, he comes in, and he's like, what happened here? How did this happen? And I'm like, I don't know. You guys are touching me and poking me and putting stuff. And I'm like, I'm not really sure how that happened. And he looks me straight in the eye and he said, Jesse, and he said, if you did this, if you took this out yourself, you're lucky to be alive, he says. And I was just like, and that was it. Ended up getting released and, healed. And but after that, just knowing, and seeing my body, knowing that there's just so much more, just made me more stronger in my convictions, made me less
Mhm.
afraid to just do what my mission is. And I was still doing the drugs and alcohol for a while, but all of these different experiences that I went through in my life has molded me to be able to stand up to this big bad beast that is seemed to be trying to control and infiltrate and steal all our souls or whatever it is. And I'm not
Mhm.
afraid of them. And that's why I'm not afraid to speak out. I've never been afraid to speak out. I've never been afraid to be called a conspiracy theorist or crazy Jesse or like cult leader Jesse or whatever, all the crazy things that people want to say about me. I've just been all about the truth. I've been all about sharing what I know, and I'm not afraid of them. I feel that I'm here to help this world into a better place. And I'm doing that with every breath that I have here, and I'll just continue doing that while I still have life here on earth.
That's just like an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that with everybody. I mean, it's truly what we call the hero's journey that you've been on. I've been on what's called the healer's journey, not the hero's journey. I've been on the healer's journey. I've had to heal myself over and over and over and over and over and over and over again over the years from all sorts of things because the medical industry has totally let me down. But I haven't been through these like stabbing, kind of horrible things like that. That's more hero's journey and healer's journey, but hero's journey too. And that's just amazing. That isn't, I mean, it's amazing that you're alive. I would love to know what the voice was. Like, was that the voice of God? Was that the voice of your guardian angel? What do you feel inside that voice was? Do you think it was God or do you think it was a guardian angel?
I think it was the voice of God. I never heard anything so profound and it like shook me. It's like something that I
Yeah.
just getting angel bumps right now, just thinking about that. And it was
Mhm.
like it was so deep and so profound. And I feel like but I don't know. It was just a voice. I'm just, assuming, but I'm pretty good intuitively. And I just feel that it was like the voice of God talking to me and telling me to get up. You got much more to do here. So you better get your ass up and, get yourself, stitched up and fixed up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just wow, that's amazing. I mean, and those guys, they're going to get a judgment, Everybody the new age Luciferians like to push this whole thing of there's no such thing as good and evil and it just all is and you attract things to yourself and you manifest bad things, which is all a bunch of bullshit cuz little newborn babies did not manifest getting raped and sacrificed and little children, they don't manifest any of that. So that's all a lie. It's being perpetrated on us by evil beings because yes, there is good and yes, there is evil. Those totally exist. And these evil people who are doing things like taking their cousin and prostituting her and all that kind of thing. I mean, there's going to be justice for that. They're going to have to pay the price, whether it's in this life or in the next one. They're going to pay the price. And it's just really too bad that you had to go through that experience. I mean, to me, it's just pathetic that we live on a planet where this kind of shit is allowed to just perpetrate day after day after day after day. But this has been how we've been rolling for 26,000 years, I guess, or whatever, when the Draco and Lucifer and Satan took over this planet. So we're just, getting out of this now, where it's all being exposed, it's all being brought up to the surface. And so what kind of advice, after going through that experience, like what are the main takeaways that you have learned that you can turn around and share with people that would help them when they're going through what we call really difficult challenges in their life, whether they're going through a divorce, or maybe their child just was shot at school, or some horrible, their spouse died of COVID. Like, what are some of the takeaways that you learned from that whole because nobody goes through a near death experience unless it's for a very specific reason. So what do you think the reason was that you went through it? Like, what did you learn from that you could share?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that to not be afraid. Don't be afraid to die. Too many people, they've programmed people to be afraid to die.
Mhm.
So you're not fully living. If you're, that's evil and lived and evil, or evil and live is spelled backwards for a reason, because they've inverted that. And
Mhm.
I think that we live forever, and this is just a training ground. So if you had someone that you love have passed on, they're still with you. They're still with you in spirit, but they're still alive in whatever dimension, whatever realm. We are energy, and you cannot destroy energy. Energy can only be
Mm-mm.
transferred,
Mhm.
and so, you just get transferred somewhere else. Your loved one is transferred somewhere else, if not still around you, because a lot of people that have, had a loved one pass on have these experiences where they see them, can feel them, can touch them, can sense them, and all these things. So, there's sometimes they're around you, and, they live on in your heart. So, it's really important to live here and not be afraid to stand up to the bullies, not be afraid to stand up to this big bad beast, because, that's honorable. And, if you, something happens to you in a place where you're living in your standing on your square, living in power, living in being honorable, you're so much more appreciated for you doing that, opposed to something happens where you're not do much, you don't say much, you're living on your knees, going along with the status quo, allowing this stuff to happen. You're not regarded as honorably as someone who becomes a martyr because they are, standing up to the bullies, or, the big bad beast that I call it. So just stand in your square. Like I said, don't be afraid to live. Find your true power. Speak out when you see things that aren't, right. Stand up when you see anyone attacking people. I always stand up. I always get myself into situation when there's fights going on. I'll walk right in between the people that are about to fight, and I'll just stand there. Neither of them know who I am, and I'm quite large, and I got crazy kind of eyes when I need to. So they think I'm with the other guy. So they don't want to mess around with me. So the
Mhm.
stuff just breaks up, and because I put myself, and who knows what could transpire and who could possibly get hurt if I didn't do that. I've done that numerous times over the years. When I'm with a bunch of people and all of a sudden some fight breaks out, I stand right in between me and all the people that I'm with, making sure they're safely in behind me, and then see how I can help dissipate this to not ruin my night. I'm like, these guys start fighting, then this thing, now we're gonna have to leave and this night's ruined, right? So I just try to do the right thing. I've made mistakes, done stupid things in my life, the drugs and the alcohol taking me away. I've made mistakes just like everybody else, but
Mhm.
I'm just trying to make sure every single day I'm a little bit better than I was the day before, that I just a little bit more, learn a little more. I'm always just trying to better myself every day, in the
Mhm.
hopes that, this world will become better because of it. And I'm not giving up on me. I'm not giving up on this world. I believe this place is heaven. It's just that there's a bunch of people that, there's enough here for everybody's need, but not even
Mhm.
everybody's greed. And there's a bunch of people that want to control people, that want to hurt people, that want to do
Mhm.
these things to people. and I won't stop until they're stopped, and that we can start healing again, and this can become heaven like it truly was meant to
Mhm.
be. Garden of Eden.
I agree. I agree. And it was before Lucifer, Satan, and the Draco reptilian showed up. It was heaven. It was whole earth was the Garden of Eden. And I believe that we're on our way back to that. And, Yeshua told me back in 2019, he said, the world is about to die, and I'm resurrecting a new Shambhala, which means a new kingdom of heaven. And then a month later, he said, very soon there will be much more heaven on earth. I mean, he told me that, and he doesn't lie. So I'm trusting in him. When he talks to me, I listen. If he says jump, I jump, and so because he doesn't, he's the dude, he's the boss. So he says we are bringing heaven back to earth. So I believe it. And I was told that even though I don't know the day, like the exact day, that it's in my lifetime. I was promised that I'm not going to die before this happens, that I'm going to be here for the whole transition. And I've been told this by multiple sources, not only my own guidance, but also by other psychics and tarot readers and people who've done readings for me, that I'm going to be here when everything, transitions. I'm not going to leave here. So I know, and even though it might not happen like this month or this week or something, that it's going to all happen and transpire very soon, like in the next, few years. So, but all of the systems, and I keep reminding everyone this, Jesse, and I'm sure you've heard it over and over, that all the systems have to completely collapse first before we can rebuild the fresh one. So we have to go through that, and that process could take a couple years or more. I doubt it's going to just, the only thing that would make it happen overnight is if we have what Yeshua said is coming, which he called it a heavenly tidal wave. And it's this energy that comes from the central sun, and it comes through, and it basically is almost like a reset on the planet. And no, we're not going to die, but the people who can't maintain a love frequency, like a frequency of 528 hertz or higher, they're going to be out of here. They're going to be gone. So they have that thing. They've been trying to spray the trails to cover it up, but there's a planet that's up there next to the sun, and people have seen it and taken photos of it, and it's obvious. I mean, except to the stupid sheeple people, they don't know. They're like looking up there going, oh yeah, whatever. They don't really care. But the people who are paying attention, who are awake, there's this planet there. What is that for? Well, that was brought in here because that's going to be where all of the goons are sent. All the goons are sent there. All the people who aren't ready, to ascend because they're total narcissists and they just care about themselves. They're going to go there. They're going to be locked down in a prison planet again for another 26,000 years in 3D. And we're going to traverse or transform or transfigure into fifth density and create this golden age. And it's going to be wonderful. And I've been promised it's in my lifetime. So I'm excited. Hopefully you
Right
are
on.
as well. And your girlfriend.
That's, you can see, and I heard that when this energy comes, one of the best things that you can do is get into the fetal position, because there's going to be a wave of energy when we come into this earth. We're in kind of the fetal position as a baby
Mhm.
in the in the stomach, and I heard that that's a good thing to do, not to just try to try to take control of it. It's
Yeah.
going to be powerful. You just roll up, let it
Be
pass,
like a baby.
however, be like a baby, roll up into a fetal position, let it
Makes
flow,
sense.
whatever happens. And then once it's done, you can get up, and then we
Mhm.
all figure out what to do
Yep.
after this happens. So that's kind of the
Yep.
advice that I've heard to do.
Yep. And we're going to
Um,
get a warning too. We're going to actually get that's what the trumpets, we're going to have trumpets that we're going to hear, or some kind of a warning signal. And I've heard from different sources. Some people said once the trumpets sound, you have 2 hours, and other people said 5 hours to get to your home and get into bed or get somewhere safe. Because you don't want to be like driving your car on the freeway at the time that thing comes through. Not a smart thing. Have you heard that as well? Like with the time, like you're gonna hear like some kind of a sound, like a trumpets or heavenly trumpets or something like that, that
yeah,
we're gonna get
well,
like a warning. We're gonna get a warning signal.
yeah, there's things people have prophesized that the
Mhm.
trumpets will sound before this
Mhm.
takes place. I'm
Mhm.
not sure.
Yeah.
about that. I know that obviously, the people, the good people will kind of be warned, or you'll get this feeling, or you'll just kind of know,
You'll just
because
know.
you'll know.
Yeah.
And like, the one of the things is that we've been very inverted as people, and we've lost our sixth sense. So not everybody, but
Mm-mm.
there's
Most of the people.
what we need to do is get back to our intuitive state, get out of your mind. That's why meditation is so important. That's why, like, qigong, music, things where you get out of your brain, because the brain is being bombarded, and it has been bombarded from
Hmm.
the TV programming, the radio programming, the school program, the religious programming. There's programming and programming and programming, and it makes people get away from their true self.
Yep.
And that's where we've got to come back to our true self to get to that harmony, that balance, that we need to get to. And everybody has it. Most people here are good. A lot of people have just been led astray. A lot of people just, they've been programmed. They're under a
Hmm.
spell. It doesn't mean they're bad
Yep. I call
people.
it a dark magic spell.
Yeah, they're just under this spell,
Yeah.
this pharmakia, this
Hmm.
Luciferian black magic, whatever this stuff
Absolutely.
is.
Hmm.
People are under a spell, and once they're out of the spell, and that's why you have to have compassion for people. That's why I
Yep.
not try not to insult people, even though they may not be at the same level. They may be under the spell. I try not
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
discredit
I
them,
don't
because we
either.
just keep planting seeds,
Yep.
keep
And have
planting seeds.
compassion.
Have compassion that they're
Hmm.
under a spell, as long
Hmm.
as they're not actively going out and doing harmful things to
Right.
themselves, to the earth, to
To
kids, to
other
women, to,
people.
to other
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Then do what you want. If you can be programmed,
Right.
I'll still plant my seeds,
Yep.
but I'm not going to look at you as any
Hmm.
lesser of than I am, because we all are these beautiful souls that were
Hmm.
granted dominion here in on earth, and we all
Yep.
have the right to be here. Even though someone's
Absolutely.
programmed, they're no greater, no lesser
Nope.
than you.
I
They're
agree.
just another soul that is either in training, learning, or just under the spell that they
Yeah,
can't break.
that's
and
you described
and
my whole
that's
family just now, my entire family, my husband, my kids, all my cousins, my only living aunt and uncle, they're all under that, and I love them. I love them. And my team has told me repeatedly they're all coming with me. Okay? They're all coming with us, every one of them. So I want people to stop worrying. People keep sending me messages like daily, is my cousin, is my sister, is my husband, are they going to ascend? And it's like, well, my question to them is, are they a good person? If they're a good person, then absolutely. Are they raping? Are they pillaging? Are they murdering? Are they stealing? Are they abusing? Are they abusing their spouse? Are they abusing animals? Are they, doing pedophilia? Are they doing things that purposely, that they know are harming people? If they purposely know that they are harming people, and I'm not talking about like people who are mentally ill or on drugs or on alcohol, because if they're under the influence of something like that and they're not in their right mind and they don't know they're hurting somebody, they're still an innocent. They're still innocent. Because my brother, who passed away a year and a half ago, he had bipolar, schizophrenia, manic depression, paranoia, all this, and he was in a facility and for it, and he was a really good human being. But when he would have one of his crazy episodes, he would try to squeeze people to death. He didn't even know what he was doing. He was out of his mind. Was he a bad person? Absolutely not. He was a really good, loving, very loving individual. But when he'd have one of his crazy episodes, he would do things. So we have to have compassion for those people, because those people will receive healing. They will be healed. They will be healed. And earlier, Jesse, you were talking about your whole experience with alcohol and all that kind of stuff. And what people out there need to understand is we need to have compassion for any human on this earth who is doing drugs and alcohol. Because first of all, those were created by the cabal to purposely trap us and keep us in a low frequency, number one. Number two, they push TV commercials all the time. They used to push cigarettes all the time. They're not anymore, but now they're still pushing alcohol. They're pushing a lot of different things. They're promoting all this stuff everywhere. They promote it through the music. They promote the hard drugs through the music and the rap, and they're pushing all this stuff. So they're mind washing people to do it. Number one. Number two, my book, the real fountain of youth is all about stress, about all of the 4 types of stress: physical, emotional, chemical, and environmental. Guess what people do on this earth when they're under stress because they haven't been taught stress management? Guess what they do? They go
Alcohol
for
and drugs.
alcohol and drugs because it's a way for you to dampen your horrible life. It could be like me. Okay, I'm going through all these terrible things. Well, if I wasn't who I am and I wasn't the high level teacher that I am, I'd go for I'd probably be drinking bottles of vodka every day, But instead I don't drink alcohol at all. I don't use any kind of drugs. I don't use RX drugs. I don't use any kind of drugs. I do CBD oil once in a while, but it doesn't seem to do anything for me, so I just don't even do that either. I don't have anything against it. My husband swears by it. He uses the CBD edibles. Him and his sister have had amazing results with inflammation in their body and joint pain and all that with CBD edibles and stuff like that. But they don't seem to do anything for me, so I don't do that. But the fact of the matter is I've been under so much stress in my life. If I wasn't a stress expert who knows how to meditate and knows how to do yoga and all these things and mind program, what we call cognitive behavioral therapy, reprogramming your mind for positive thoughts instead of negative thoughts. If I didn't know all the things that I know today, I would have either committed suicide by now or I'd be hitting the booze big time or something because that is what humans use to escape their problems in life because they haven't, as children, been taught by the schools or by their parents how to deal with difficult situations. They've never been taught, how do I deal with all the trauma in life? How do I deal with all these terrible things that happen to me every day? Nobody's ever taught those skills. My parents never taught me those skills. Your parents obviously didn't teach you those skills, and then they threw you out. And I mean, which I could never imagine doing. I have kids age 23 and 25 living with me because they're not in a financial position to be able to afford to live on their own. Am I going to put my children in the street? No way in freaking hell, because I love my children. I love them, and I would never do that. But it's like when you're put through that kind of a situation, what do? Well, here's the government and all the bad guys promoting this alcohol and drugs, and the cabal is pushing that. So it's an easy thing to turn to when you're suffering. When you are suffering, that is an easy thing to go for. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because it's such an important subject, and we need to all have so much compassion for any person who's ever had an addiction problem, because addictions are all created by the controllers to keep us in a low frequency, to make us sick, to kill us. And they purposely don't teach us life skill techniques like the Essenes, my people, were teaching 2,000 years ago. We were teaching the children from the minute they were young how to meditate, how to balance their chakras, how to do all these things. And they were eating vegetarian and eating healthy lifestyle and it was all part of the spiritual practice. We were teaching them. So did those kids grow up and they're all stressed out and they drank alcohol? No, that didn't happen 2,000 years ago, because they were being taught very specific skills from the minute that they were children on how to deal with it. The same in the Buddhist tradition, the Hindu tradition. There's a whole bunch of ancient religions or spiritual philosophies where from the minute children are born, they're being taught different skills like meditation that help you to stay calm and peaceful and balanced all the time, so you don't have a need to go take drugs and alcohol. But then you come into this Western world of ours with Christianity. Do you ever see any Christian people teaching kids these concepts? No. The Jews, the Christians, Islam, none of those religions teach children how to deal with all of the problems in their life. None of those religions give them the kids any training on it. And so you see Pastor Rick Warren, who wrote The Purpose Driven Life, his son committed suicide. Okay. So you sit there and you go, oh, a Christian minister's son committed suicide because he was so stressed out, and his own father, who was a minister, didn't give him the skills or the help that he needed to cope with his shit in his life. So
Yeah,
a
lot of this religious based stuff is like,
yeah.
I know people that are in abusive relationships that their church is telling them, no, you can't leave.
Yeah, you have
Okay,
to
well, the
stay.
husband's beating the shit out of you. You're, financially, physically, emotionally being abused. This is dangerous, but no, you need to work it out. A
Yep.
good woman will just work that out. You
Yeah.
can't leave. You
That's
can't,
so harmful.
and this is like sick, like that's a
Yeah, it's really
sickness,
sick.
right? Like that's
Mm-hmm.
infiltrated by the dark, when you would
Mm-hmm.
have people that wouldn't be like, yo, grab that freaking guy that's the pastor and say, look, you want to come to the, you better not ever put your hand and deal with it, or tell her to go, because if he can't be helped or fixed or redeemed, but not just be, oh, that's you, it's your job and you shouldn't talk back, and if he's like that, then that's the way he is. And like, I've heard crazy, crazy stories, but from
Mm-hmm.
religion. But when
Me
it comes
too.
to it, when it comes to addiction, okay, so you have an injury. Some 10 people get injured severely. They get put on some pain pills.
Mm-hmm.
9 out of 10, no problem. As soon as the pain's gone, they get off the pills. But 1 out of that 10 person can't get off the pills. Why? Because of some kind of trauma,
Mm-hmm.
something that's happened into their life,
Mm-hmm.
where it's easier to cope on. I don't have to think about that trauma. I don't have to think about that pain. I don't have to
Mm-hmm.
think about these things. So
Exactly.
most people that are in addiction have
Mm-hmm.
some kind of unresolved
Trauma.
trauma that they
Absolutely.
need to heal.
Absolutely.
And that's why it's just easier for them to be in that addictive state. Once they're in that addictive state, do they start doing shitty things and bad things to people? Well, yeah. Is it them that's doing it? No, it's the trauma that's
Yeah.
caused the addiction. Now the addiction
Mm-hmm.
is, they need money to get their drugs, so then they're
Yeah,
stealing, they're doing these
exactly.
things, not because they're a bad person,
No.
but
Mm.
because they need to
It's
fill
desperation.
fill that unresolved trauma with
Yep.
something that's going to keep them away from having to think about it. And it's easier to go and steal something and get more drugs than to feel, not feel, than to try to deal with those unresolved issues. And that's why you can have 10 people, 8 out of them, no problem, get on the drugs, off the drugs. People can have 8 out of 10 people can have some drinks and then just stop at any time. But you'll
Mhm.
have that other two or one, whatever it is, that are severely traumatized, that just need that to help them cope without
Mhm.
having to deal with that unresolved trauma. So that's kind of what I've seen from the people that I've seen throughout my life, and the reason what's behind it.
Yeah, that's true. There is one other thing. There is a small percentage of people who have genetic predisposition to addiction and to alcohol and stuff. There's a lot of Irish people who have that issue, a lot of Finnish people. In fact, alcoholism runs really strong with Finnish people. I know this from family, from having family members where it was passed down generation by marriage. My family, they're and they keep passing it down generation after
Yeah, well,
generation
if
of
you grew up
alcoholism and
with your
stuff like that.
parents
Yeah.
drinking, then that's just normal. And
Yeah.
then, you grow up, if you monkey see, monkey do. The kids usually
Right.
follow. I don't know if it's as much as genetics as it is monkey see, monkey do, right?
Right.
Because, at any time, anybody can choose to not, right? We have that
Mhm.
ability, unless you're like severely traumatized, where it's a coping mechanism. But for most people, patterns can break. Just because your parents were like this doesn't mean you have to be like this. But in most cases, patterns repeat and people follow in their parents' footsteps. So that
Mhm.
is something that definitely does happen for sure.
Yeah, it's just I'd like to point that out because it's not as cut and dry as, oh, well, they're not taught to cope and oh, they're, whatever. There is situations where it's there's a genetic or a familial component to it and stuff like that too. So it's really important. But the big message I want people to understand is when you know people who are like this, try really hard to get them help and get them into a program, number one. Number two, just have extreme compassion for them and love. Just give them love, support, and compassion. It's so important.
The first thing is they want to be heard. So if you
Mhm.
really want to help somebody, you need to
Mhm.
try to listen to them, and not listen to try to tell them they're wrong, and that they're, listen, what's going on with you, how
Yeah.
come you like these drinks, like, talk to me. I'm here for you anytime. And you're going through lots of things and things are pulling you this way. And what people really want to be heard, and not everybody has the good listening skills. A lot of people, listen to the point to want to talk. They don't really ingest what the person is saying. And I think that's one of the biggest lost arts is the listening skills, because people are just waiting for you to finish. And so they don't hear what you're saying. So that way they can talk without actually ingesting. And for a lot of people that are going through these things, they're not heard. They're not, listened to, and they feel alone, and that's why they go. So well, that's one of the most important things. If you really want to help someone, try to listen to them, listen to their soul, get in touch with what's inside of them and what's making them tick, and then you can find different areas on how you could potentially help them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we covered a lot of stuff. Oh my gosh, it's like 1:15. We've been on here probably an hour or more at least. But I have really enjoyed having you here on my channel, Jesse. You're an amazing human being, and I thank you. And so is your girlfriend, Angeline. She's a true angel, and the two of you are both amazing people and warrior angels for the light. I really appreciate you both. So I just wanted to say thank you so much for coming on here. And for all of you who are listening, I really hope this information's been helpful for you today. And please like and share this video and comment too, so we can get so it gets out to more people, because it puts it up in the whatever you want to call it. So it's seen. I forgot what you called that word. What's it called? The algorithm. It gets the algorithm going, so more people will see my videos. Subscribe if you like the work I'm doing. Feel free to donate to my work, since I don't get paid by Amazon. I almost said Amazon. By YouTube. I don't make any money from them at all. So if you want to donate to me, feel free to do that. There's a link in the comments. I'm going to have a link to Jesse's show, the missing link, and his information where you can contact him in the description. So if you want to find it, and I really, really, really recommend you all watch his show, The Missing Link. He's got amazing guests. He's always promoting his group. I think, is it in Jenny Lee or Selene's group? I can't remember, where you always post in there. One of the two. You always have posts, but yeah, he's got amazing guests, and they all have great information to share. And I can't believe you had the honor of interviewing the Ikes. I mean, the Ike, I call him the Ike. He's a pretty amazing human being. So yeah, and he's banned from leaving his country or something like that. They've blocked him. He can't go anywhere. So that's really incredible that you got to chat with him. But thank you so much, Jesse. And did you have any last minute advice or anything else you wanted to say before we sign off?
Well, thank you so much for the opportunity. For the longest period, I wasn't really being asked to be on people's shows or being interviewed. A bunch of people would say, "Yeah, we'll get you on the show," and then never follow up. And
Oh,
so
wow.
it's nice. I'm starting to get a little bit more asked to, be on people's shows. So really feel honored when I do that. I, do the best that I can to, get as much people heard as I can. We even interviewed David Icke's son, Gareth Icke. Smart guy, a great interview. So me and him chat in email chats. So I'm building a little bit of a relationship with his son. But like I said, I didn't know any of them. This is a day and age where we really need to stand on our square. We really need to be solid. We really need to stand up for what is right. Don't be the fence jumper. There's a lot of people that are on one side or the other, and then there's a lot of people in the middle that are fence jumpers that'll go from one side to the other depending on what's cool or what's popular or what's in. Really find out who you are, do the work, do the shadow work, the dark night of the soul. Get into the meditation, get into things where you can quiet your mind, get out of your mind, really connect with the source around. We're constantly being given messages, we're constantly being communicated with. Just a lot of people are not in a position where they can hear these things. When children can see these things and hear these things, parents, no, that's crazy. You're not seeing anything. Don't talk to that stranger, and
Yeah.
don't hear that, you're crazy. And they start wanting to medicate people
Mm-hmm.
because they're getting messages like,
Mm-hmm.
this is a very
They
vast,
label them with
complex.
stuff.
complex universe that we're in. So
Mm-hmm.
we really know that there's more than just, you know, what you've been taught in school. Now is the time to really honor yourself, you know, become who you need to be, and
Mm-hmm.
help in this, you know, this mission to turn this dark place that it's become into the light once again. And I send my love to all of you. I We're gonna start the High Vibe Love Tribe again now that I just had this hip surgery. Once the pain goes away, once a week, we're gonna do this thing. We're not gonna do the 7 days a week like we did for 11 straight months, but we're going to do that once a week. And then we're going to have the missing link. Obviously, we're doing about that 5 days a week on the missing link. So please, I'm going to send Kimberly all the links to all of our different channels that we're on. And, you know, if you're on any of them, just please like and subscribe. And if you do see any of the shows that you do resonate with, which you're not going to resonate with everybody. I'm
Nope.
interviewing anybody and everybody. Some people, that's controlled opposition, that's this, that's that. You might not resonate with the person. Just don't watch it. You
Yeah.
don't need
Scroll
to
on
hear,
by.
we don't
Scroll
need
on
to
by.
hear on how much you don't resonate, and that person is this and that, because that
Yeah.
reflects upon
Mm-hmm.
you, not upon the person that we're interviewing. Just have some respect for me, for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to talk to the person and interview the person. I don't agree with everybody that I bring on. I don't see the same
Yeah.
things that I bring on, but I think there's value in listening to people and hearing their
Mm-hmm.
side, and then taking the good stuff and then just
Yeah.
leaving the stuff that you don't resonate with. And I think if people start to tolerate and accept people are different, allow people to be different, allow that you're not in alignment, allow that you find different shapes of the earth, and it's okay. That person isn't crazy
The
because they
earth
think
thing.
something different than you. That
Yeah.
just person is on a different journey, and battling people over these things that they've created in order to divide us is the whole
Mm-hmm.
reason why we are divided, because
Yeah. That's why we're
we put
losing and not winning too.
we put labels. Like when
Yeah.
I say I stopped eating meat, I don't call myself a vegetarian. I stopped drinking. I don't put labels on myself.
No.
Because I
It's
think
just
as soon as
actions
you,
you took.
yeah, and as soon as you put a label, then
Mm-hmm.
you're dividing yourself from everybody else. And it's time for us to finally come together in one big family we are, start honoring, loving, respecting one another. And when we get there, then we can have true heaven on earth like it's meant to be here.
Exactly. And since you said that, I'm going to point out that on one video I was talking about my diet and I got attacked by some guy saying that they were horrified that I wasn't, that I was eating animals and they called me an animal killer. And it's like, you got to be kidding. Every human on the earth is a freaking carnivore. We've been carnivores for millions of years. So I'm an animal killer because I'm eating the best diet for my body. I eat what's good for my body. I have friends who are vegan and that works for their body. I have friends who are pescatarian that works for their body. I eat a Mediterranean paleo diet. So I eat because I'm gluten intolerant and I'm trying to not eat grains or processed sugar. So I eat a very healthy, organic Mediterranean diet because the people in that region live to be 100 and something years old because of that. And that's what works for my body. And everybody needs to honor their own bodies and stop jumping. It's nobody's business what diet I eat. And how dare them sit there and point a finger at me and say, you're an animal killer. And, da, da, da. And it's like, you need to play in your own backyard. Stop poking your nose into my business. My diet is my own personal business, nobody else's. Your diet is your business. Do what's best for your body, mind, and spirit. And stop putting so much time and energy into what are other people doing. Play in your own backyard. It's your backyard. Take care of your own body, your own family, your own life, and stop trying to tell other people how to live theirs, because all that's doing is lowering your vibration and making you a narcissist, third density, fear-based individual. And those people are not going to ascend. And that's just all there is to it. So yeah.
100% on Thursday, we're interviewing someone named Corey William. He talks about health.
Mm-hmm.
And we just had a little conversation today. And I was telling a little bit of, he sent me something about how honey's not good for you and vegetables aren't good for you and all this. I'm like, well, what are you supposed to eat? And he's like, the carnivore diet. And he's like, obviously,
Yeah.
you don't know too much. I'm like, okay, you know how much I research, bud, and what I'm doing. Like, when I stopped eating meat, I haven't been sick in 6 years. So over 6 years since I stopped
Mhm.
eating meat. I used to
Yeah.
get sick once or twice a year. This works for me. My girlfriend needs meat. She tried the vegetarian and
I
she
tried all those too, and I almost
tried it.
died, actually. It
It
almost killed me.
made her sick
I
and
was
stuff
so
like
sick.
that.
Yeah.
So, but when people come at me and saying that I don't know much and maybe
Yeah.
just eat the meat, you might hear some things come out of my mouth, like, about animal killers and stuff, just to defend when someone's attacking me.
Mhm.
It's not that I believe, but when someone comes in an aggressive way,
Mhm.
telling me what I'm doing is wrong, then I just use words to defend myself. And it's not that, like I
Yeah.
said, my girlfriend eats meat, my family eats meat. I don't know a lot of people who are like me that don't. Do I judge them because of it? No, everybody does what they
Yeah.
need, what they feel is
Play in
right
your
for
own
them,
lane, man.
right,
Stay in your own lane.
right for themselves here. And everybody's been granted that right to make that choice.
Right.
If we find out later that was a good choice or bad choice, well, this is the
Mhm.
training ground. We're allowed to make mistakes. We're allowed to learn. We're allowed to learn here. And that's what this
Mhm.
whole
It's a
mission is about.
classroom. It's a
It's a classroom, it's a
classroom.
training ground, it's learning for the next. And then once you get to the next, you figure out what you did right, what you did wrong, and who knows where maybe you'll come back here, maybe you'll go somewhere else. But we're not
Yeah.
here to judge other people and their choices. As long as they're not
Yeah.
actively, hurting other people, actively hurting themselves, then,
Mhm.
people are free to do what they want to do basically while they're here.
I agree, and the other thing is to stop attacking people's guests. When Jesse has people on his show that you don't agree with, just scroll on by. You don't have to go after Jesse and put a comment on his videos saying, "I don't agree with anything that person says." And you guys do it to me too. I get people because I have to pre-approve the comments before I put them up. And except on Rumble, people just comment and I don't have control over those unless you turn the comments off. But I've had people say, "I don't like your guest so and so." Like I had a particular woman on my show who a couple people don't like and they don't agree with, but she's a dear friend of mine, and I don't really care if you like her or not. Go get a life. I mean, seriously, it's like just don't even bother. You're wasting your energy because it's just all division. It's more division. It's like if anything she said resonated with you, then take that away as a learning. One thing I learned from an old boss of mine who was she was not a nice person. She was actually a terrible person, but I did learn some things from her. And one of them was that when you go to a conference or a meeting or a convention or you watch a video or anything like that, if you take away one or two new ideas from that, whatever that is, then it's good, that it's a positive thing. If you've taken away one or two, you may totally disagree with everything else that person said, but if you take away one new idea that you didn't have before, then you win, you know?
And if I'm listening to somebody that I don't like, or I don't
Mhm.
resonate, or I think that they're, pulling people the wrong way or whatever it is, I'm not
Mhm.
there to go on someone else's platform and, to talk badly about someone because they're just not in the same place or the same space and you're not in alignment. Great. I don't feel I need to be heard why I disagree with that person or why that. If I wanted to go on my own platform, you're welcome. Hey, I was just watching this show and this person, and you make a post, you say whatever you want. That's your own platform, but
Mhm.
just respect other people's platforms and
Mhm.
respect if they're having someone on. And if you don't agree, just leave, because it looks poorly upon you when you
Yeah.
start bashing someone else, especially with no
Yeah.
actual evidence
Exactly.
and
True.
the reasoning
Mhm.
why, how they personally affected you and how they have done you wrong, then
Mhm.
it doesn't matter. Like you're
Yep.
just causing a negative ripple that people know you as being that negative
Yeah.
Nelly
It
that's
makes you
putting
look
that into
bad, like a
makes you
Karen. You're
look bad,
basically a
not
Karen.
yeah, it makes you look like the Karen, not, it doesn't benefit anyone
Mhm.
by, trying to judge or discredit
Mhm.
somebody else, especially if you have no actual factual proof.
Yeah, and I don't like to use the word Karen because I have a very dear friend named Karen and she's amazing, but I mean it's a word that people are using now to describe these kind of people who all they do is bitch and complain and make trouble and lower everybody's frequency including their own, and they have no proof, it's just their word against yours. Oh, this person blah, 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 blah. And it's like Yeah, get off your soapbox, whatever, I don't know.
I've been
So,
attacked lots for the people that I interviewed. David
yeah,
Icke is this, Sasha Stone is this, all these
yeah.
doctors. They even did a hit piece on me, some Hugo Talks guy. I'm not sure if you ever heard of him, but he's
No.
got a quite a big
Mm-mm.
following, and he did the
No.
Luciferian agenda, and he was like all these, doctors and Judy Mikovits and all these people that are talking against all the stuff that was going on is all part of the Luciferians. And then who is this Jesse Howell guy? He's got no following. He's interviewing every single person out there. Is he some kind of content? I was like, my face in my interviews, and I was like, I couldn't believe all I'm doing is trying to just ask people questions. But because I've been able to, and I've worked hard to be able to get all these
Mhm.
people to be able to interview
Yeah,
them
you worked really
because
hard.
they're on my show. Now I'm this bad guy, or people, yeah, I don't trust Jesse. He's got too many of the controlled opposition. I don't watch his show because he gives a platform to these people. And it's just like, whoa, like, you
That
obviously
sounds
got
like somebody with a serious ego problem is what this is. This is a case of the ego, and I have this challenge to everybody out there. Next time you go to criticize somebody, ask yourself what portion of your ego has a need to do that, because this is all about the ego. It's about getting out of ego. And what people don't understand out there is, in order to be fifth density, the ego has to be gone completely. No more ego. So fifth density means you're Christ-like and there is no ego. Do you think Jesus walked around saying, "Oh, you suck and you this and you?" No, he didn't do that. He didn't, bitch, 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 complain. You never heard him complain about anything. He turned the tables over at the, went into the temple and turned over the tables and got nasty with them. But you got to get out of your ego of judgment and hate and needing to be right, needing to be superior to others, needing to be better than others, needing to compete with others. Like, I don't have a need to compete with anyone except myself. I'm trying to be a better version of myself every day. That's my competition. And it actually makes me feel excited. Like, I love trying to improve myself all the time. Like, it's exciting to me. It's a challenge, so I'm competing with myself all the time to try to be better and better and better and better always, whether it's my health or what I'm sharing with the world or how I'm engaging with my family or whatever. I'm always trying to improve myself. But you have to, in order to get to fifth density, the only people who will be 5D are people who have completely dropped their whole ego, dropped the entire ego. No more ego.
And most
Yeah.
people are there because they're afraid. They're
Mhm.
afraid and they're
Mhm.
scared. They're scared of the system. They're scared. And you need to like
Mhm.
stop being afraid, get back into the love vibration. You're going to
Mhm.
love, your fellow brother and sister, because what is the alternative? Do you want to kill them? Because they're not in alignment with you? Do you want to become
Mhm.
those who you say you're against, to
Mhm.
stop the ones that you're against, but you're willing to act like them, be like
Mhm.
them, and get yourself?
Yeah,
No,
you're emulating
get
them.
yourself back into the love vibration.
Mhm.
And, that's when we can truly come back together like we should be here.
Yeah, it's unity consciousness, and it's in my book, Ascension 101, what 5D, 4D, and 3D is. And 4D is love and unity consciousness. 5D is more supernatural, where you become like a superhuman. But in order to get there, like I said, you have to get rid of all the ego. Otherwise, you're just going to be in 4D. Well, I'm mostly 4D right now. And then I've got a small portion of me into the fifth, density right now. But the majority of humans on the planet are third density. Then we've got some of us that are 100% fourth density, and a few of us that are into a very tiny fraction of us that are actually into fifth density, where you have your psychic abilities and you have all this stuff. So, but the fourth density is love and brother and sisterhood. We're all brothers and sisters. So I want you all to think about this before I hang up this conversation, or sign off, or whatever you want to call it, is that if let's say you have a sister and you disagree with that sister, I would think that you would still love your sister and you would agree to disagree. You're not going to do a hate campaign on them and tell everybody, "Oh, my sister's a crazy and I hate my sister and this and that," just because they disagree with you. I would think because they're your family. It's like I'm living with three people who are not, totally not on my sheet of paper, but they're my family and I love them. Am I going to go out and smear them all over the place? No, I have compassion and love for them. And I'm going to work it out. And I'm going to say it's okay for us to agree to disagree. It's okay. But am I going to go out on social media and say, I hate my family, they suck, they're evil, they're this? No, not at all. They just don't know. They're under mind control, right? So they don't
And it
know any
would be
better.
going against what
Yeah.
you are as a
Yeah.
person. You're not that person that's going
No.
and attacking and, trying to get attention by, making other people look bad. Like
Mhm.
that's some serious issues you have when you need to get attention by making others
Other
look
people look bad. Yeah. And it's all about self-esteem. The solar plexus damage. That person's got a seriously damaged solar plexus. Their self-esteem is basically crap. And how they make themselves feel better is by making other people look bad. And that's how they lift themselves up higher. It's like, oh, look, I'm better than this person because they did blah, 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 blah. And again, this goes back to what is 3D? What is 4D? What is 5D? Well, 3D is all of that. It's all that ego stuff. 4D, you're ditching the ego, you're getting rid of that, but you're still working on your shit. And 4D, you have love, you have compassion, you see that you're connected to everyone on earth, but you're still working out your shit. 5D, your shit's been cleared, your ego's gone, and boom, you're supernatural. That's 5D. So, so anyways, with all of that said, we're going to sign off, and thank you so much, Jesse. Sending you and Angeline big hugs, and yeah, and enjoy your trip over to see her. Have a safe road trip over to see her.
I love driving. Thank you so much. And thanks again for doing what you're doing, for helping the people that you help. And, we are literally in this together. So let's figure out how we can coexist together because
Yeah.
really, unless you want to become them, you don't really have another choice. So just
Mhm.
keep moving forward, get to know yourself the best you can, make yourself happy, do things that you like enjoying to do because you don't know how long you have here. So
Nope.
just make the best of it while you're here.
Exactly. Thank you. That was the best sign off thing we could ever say. Thank you for that. All right. Bye, you all. Thanks again for
May
coming.
the may the source be with you all. Bye, everyone.
Yes. Bye.